excited. This is our first Facebook Live. We're going to give, probably about a minute before we get into it, just in case someone else wants to hop on. But this will be replayed on Facebook, and then we're taking the audio of it, and that will become, for right now, the podcast that we were doing. We record those podcasts in like one time through. We didn't ever have to go back and edit or fix. So I think we're ready for prime time. We're one shot. We just take one shot there.
We're fairly optimistic, though. We are kind of rusty. It's been a little while since we've done a podcast, and so to do a podcast and then take several months, do podcasts and then take several months off and go live, we're feeling pretty optimistic. But we're also just wanting to get something done, because we know that getting the podcast done, scheduling wise, it doesn't work that easily. So we're just going to jump in and hope for the best.
Absolutely. So why don't you explain kind of where we've been?
So we've been on leave from having the baby.
Yeah.
A baby. So we started last spring with our vlogs, talking about the pregnancy and our midwife experience, and we talked a little bit throughout the summer, throughout the fall, about the baby. And then I don't even remember the date of our last podcast, but
I think it was like August. It's something kind of sad that it's been a lot longer. I was looking at the website because I was making some updates, and I think the last podcast on there it's been a while.
Well, anyway, our baby was born in November.
Yeah, our baby was born, and that's mostly where we've been. This is something we're still getting off the ground and doing ourselves. It's homegrown, and so obviously sometimes when you have a new child into the mix, this kind of takes that back seat. But we're getting back into it, like I said, and so we're starting with these Facebook Lives, and the goal is to make them continually do them, and like I said, use the audio for the podcast. So anything else before we get started? Because the idea is that these Facebook Lives will just be about 30 minutes. We want to do similarly what we've done with the podcast, and just kind of have a conversation and get into a topic and be done for the time. So we're not going to drag it out or make them super long diatribes of endless. I'm already doing that now. So anything else you want to say?
I don't have anything to add right now.
Excellent. Okay, so, well, I do have one thing to add. What's happening this Friday night?
We have a speaking event.
Yes.
It's a date night. Because what is this Friday? This
Friday is Valentine's Day. I do know that.
Yes. Friday is Valentine's Day, and we're speaking, and this particular event, I don't know how far we want to advertise. They're providing free childcare.
Yep. For grades 1 through 6.
It's ages 1 through grade 6.
Oh, ages 1 through grade 6. That's
yeah.
That's okay. Well.
And so the RSVP, I think the window for enrolling the kids is closed.
It was Sunday. I'm sure if you really wanted to go and get a part of it, if you called the church office, Life Church, or emailed them, and we could put those in the description here afterwards, because I don't have that off the top of my head. If you still wanted to get involved, I'm guessing they would accommodate.
But there'll be free childcare, and to start the evening, Doug and I will be speaking, and we'll just have a short 20 to 25 minute talk, and then the couples get to go off and have a free date night. Well, the childcare is free, and then they get to go to dinner or whatever, come back a couple hours later and pick up their kids. And so I think that is such a great opportunity, a great thing. And we're excited. We're really excited. So we've been prepping and working on what we're putting together, and it's just going to be really fun. Usually kind of messages can be well, it just depends on what the Lord lays on your heart, really. And so this particular message is really lighthearted and fun. We're also going to have a giveaway, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah. Do we want to tell them what it is? Do you have it?
Sure. I don't have it. No, I think it's in a different room.
We need better pre-prep.
We have and we can post a picture.
Okay.
Later, we have a date night fund shadow box. So it is a 3-dimensional box with a opening on the top. So really similar to a piggy bank, but it's a date night fund piggy bank. We are providing this, and the marriage ministry team at Life Church is filling the fund as part of the giveaway. So it will come pre-filled with cash.
Yeah. And how much does this cost again?
It's free.
This is free. This is all free. That's amazing. So again, that's this February 14th at 6.
Registration, drop off the kids starts at 5:45.
Yep.
We will begin the message portion begins at 6 p.m. and then by 6:30 you will be on your way to a date evening with your spouse.
And then come back at 8:30 to pick up the kids because they won't keep them.
So if you don't have kids, or if you don't want to leave your kids somewhere that you haven't been before, if you don't attend Life Church, you're more than welcome to come at 6 o'clock for the message and giveaway, and leave at 6:30, and you will have been encouraged and had a few laughs.
Well, we hope so. That's and what are we speaking about?
Dating your spouse.
Yes, dating your spouse. That makes perfect sense. You're going on a date.
Mm-hmm.
It's Valentine's Day. We would talk about the importance of dating your spouse and maybe some good ways to date your spouse.
Yep.
Yeah, that's where we're going. So enough about that. Please, again, we'll put in the comments a picture of the shadow box just to tease it, and also the information of the church office if you want to still throw your hat in the ring. Like Carrie said, if you don't have kids and you just want to come by, you can just do that. That's not an issue. They just need to prep for how many kids are going to be there.
Yep.
So tonight, what are we talking about tonight, dear?
Goals, supporting your spouse in their goals.
Properly supporting your spouse's goals. She's looking at me because I came up with a topic, so she's wanting to make sure that I get it right.
Yeah, I know the subject. I don't know the title, the spiel.
Okay, so here's the spiel. I'll give you the spiel. Not even every year, but very regularly, I come to Carrie and I will have a really this new idea. Dear, I'm going to ... It could be, obviously I'm into CrossFit now, so it's a CrossFit competition, or nutritionally, I might have a goal. I might come to her and say, dear, I really feel like the Lord wants us to start a ministry. There's a lot of things that I've come to you and said, this is something I feel like I want to accomplish. And I'm giving you a piece of something that's very dear to me, because I could either keep those to myself or I could share those with you. And in a marriage, it's very important to be able to trust your spouse with your hopes and your dreams and your goals. And your spouse has two ways that they can react to them. There can be a reaction that is supportive, or there can be a reaction that deflates or is negative or tears down. Bailey joined and said that Matt is pumping his fist in the air because he does the same thing. I'm not surprised. But how do you properly support your spouse when they come to you with goals? These might be attainable, but they also might be something that your spouse says, like kind of with our children. You go, okay, Bailey has mentioned she'd really like to have a goat. And we were pretty sure that's going to pass after a few months. But you don't say that to them. But the same thing with your spouse. How do you properly support them, even if you don't think it's something that is going to last or going to work? What is the right way to talk to your spouse away? Because it's another way, if you do not support your spouse properly in these goals, they begin to withhold information from you. They begin to dream on their own, or maybe dream with other people. That's one of the ways that you can let some emotional infidelity come into your marriage, because you have someone else who might, and it doesn't matter who it is, they're sharing that creative and goal space with your spouse, when that's something you should be fostering and taking care of. So that's the spiel. Is that what when I mentioned to you that was the topic, is that what you were thinking?
Well, a bit. And
Okay.
I also know that you've asked me what my goals are, and I just kind of look at you like I'm just hoping to keep the kids alive.
Right. Yeah. You don't necessarily have these big lofty goals.
Not that I don't, but so sometimes it's hard for me. I can be a little bit resentful because you are just gung-ho, let's do all these things. And I've actually said to you, it bothers me that you are always doing something new, because I feel like maybe you're bored. And if you're bored, here, take something off of my plate.
Yeah. You got plenty to give out.
But we our roles right now, I'm more involved with the kids, and it's more, there's more busy work, if you will. Like there's just a lot more activity on my plate, and I know that that will eventually change. So that's, I don't you are sensitive to that, and you also know when to dial it back, or when I give you a certain look, I really don't really care how many,
Right.
what you're squatting, or how many vegetables you've eaten today, because I'm just glad that we're having some sort of hot meal.
Right.
But it's also important. You've asked me what my goals are, and I do appreciate that, because it does keep me moving forward instead of just, and it also reminds me that I'm important. And so I appreciate that, because that's the way that you think. I know that that's something that's your way of expressing love and concern for me and my well-being when you ask me what my goals are.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And when I share my goals, there are times where I feel like it might be something that is something I can't do, or I'm very aware of my failures. So, surprise, surprise, I've always been a lofty goal setter, and generally, apart from the last, I don't know how many years, maybe 10 years or so, it was it was shiny new object. I would grab onto something else and forget. The one thing that comes to my mind, always comes to my mind when I think about this, is there was a season where I got a gift card from your aunt, and I went on to christianbooks.com, and I spent the entire gift card on like $30 single dollar Bibles.
Yeah.
And I was going to put them in my car, and I was like, I'm going to hand these Bibles out to everyone I see, and when they run out, I'm going to buy more, and we're going to be saving souls for Jesus. And when we moved, there was like $30 Bibles in our house that no Jesus saving happened with those Bibles. And I always think about that, because it was like I was really gung-ho, and then it died off. And whenever I think of myself and new goals, I'm always like, what about the Bibles, Doug? Is this another Bible goal? And I'm very aware that I can set goals, and then I'm afraid I'm just not going to follow through. So now I'm almost hypersensitive to where I'll hang on to something so tightly, because I don't want to be thought of as wishy-washy or not following through with a goal that I've set for myself. So how do we've talked about this, so you're aware of it. How do you support me in, regardless of what I'm thinking? How do you either talk me off a ledge or support? I mean, what do you do in those situations?
Well, I know that you're always, you err a little bit more on the intense side of thinking and doing. And so for you to have goals, even if they are continually changing, keep you focused in the other areas of life, and allow you to be a more effective, or most effective, in the different roles. And I know that specifically when it comes to the household, I'm the one who, I know the kids, and I know what's needed, and I know how the household runs. And so there really isn't anything that you have jurisdiction on the things that are on my plate, and I get that. And so I realize that you need to be able to just kind of fine tune and just really hone in on the things that you can. And I'm okay. I've learned to be okay with it kind of changing, because that's just kind of how you are. And generally there's a theme. Most, currently I don't want to say currently, but a lot of times it has to do with health and fitness and that sort of thing. And I think
my spiritual ones can be kind of intense too.
Yeah.
With what the effect that I want to make, and so I know that that's another thing you have to.
Well, that's kind of a different category, because our spiritual goals. Did you give out one Bible?
I don't have any record.
See, that shouldn't even be in the. I know that it was one of your goals, but I mean, we should always be striving to do that.
Well, I know. I just, it's a reminder of something that I just felt so passionately about, and I knew I was going to do, and I just completely, I
think it's relevant to mention that we lived in a metro city, 500,000 people or so. So it was easy to see somebody who.
That makes it worse, because there's so many random people. I could just like throw a Bible out the door and hit somebody who needs Jesus there, and I didn't even do that. Oh,
Well, it's a lot different than our little town here where you kind of have to drive around and maybe if you see somebody, they forgot their Bible and
yeah.
you have one to
I
get.
help them out. Kids at church, they need it because they get like a piece of candy. They bring their Bible. I could hand out a lot of Bibles right outside the children's church area.
I think we're way off track.
Okay.
Okay.
So when you say you don't have goals, but yet I ask you about your goals and maybe things that you want to accomplish. So do you have an example of a time where I've pushed you, or at least I've pushed the idea of having a goal, and that is you've gone ahead and kind of stepped into that goal setting mindset just because of my encouragement?
Yeah. Most recently, so most recently our goals have been the baby was born 3 months ago, and I've been expressing the desire to get back into going to class regularly, exercising regularly, and with the third trimester, you just kind of start to, you don't really care what you eat because eating is the only thing that's enjoyable at that point. And so and because I'm breastfeeding, I can still kind of coast on that, but I know that I would feel better if I didn't eat so many baked goods, which you make
Yeah.
for me.
Mm.
Just a side note. But so I have expressed the desire to kind of improve in those areas. And so usually when you ask me what my goals are in a given area, you are taking a cue from me. You're taking a cue from something that I've already said. You aren't just pulling it out of maybe an area that you see I need to improve and saying, hey, maybe you need to have this goal.
And did I ever do that before earlier in our marriage?
Yes.
Yes. So, and I don't want to cut you off, but but I will. Men, you can't force your wife into the goals that you have for yourself, even if, or for them, even if they're valid, even if they would be good, even if they would be benefit. It doesn't matter. It's something that you cannot force somebody into the goals that they need. They need to see those goals, and they need to step into that awareness on their own, because once they have the buy-in, then they will see it through and follow it. I'm being told that I need to put down the spatula and stop making baked goods. There's the comments in there. I just made oatmeal chocolate chip cookies this past weekend.
Yes,
it's not good for me either.
Yeah.
But it's so important just to make sure that it's not something that you take because you feel like if I just support her with enough data, if I talk to her about it, she's gonna go to that class, or she's gonna eat that good food, or she talks about wanting to read books more. If I buy her a gift card to a bookstore, like she'd get the book she wants. I find out every time that I do that, you tend to take that. It's an aggressive measure that I'm telling you where you're failing at.
Mm-hmm.
You're not finding it supportive. You're finding it. It's a negative emotion. It's almost I'm flaunting failure in front of you, and you're already feeling like you're failing in other areas. And the last thing you need is for me to point something else out that you're not doing, even though that's not my motive at all. So be very careful of that, husbands, because that happens commonly. Not that you mean to. It's a way that's received if you're trying to push that onto them.
I think that's something that women are especially sensitive to, is if it's an area that they're feeling and thinking and feeling insecure about, a small, even a sideways look, like if I'm picking up a cookie and you look at me and you aren't even thinking about the cookie, but my brain can automatically fill in with, oh, you're judging me because I'm eating another cookie. So that idea of just a gentle nudge, like a really gentle nudge, is all that's needed a lot of times if it's an area that's of insecurity. If it's an area that you are wanting, if you're concerned for my well-being and that sort of thing, that's different. And I realize that they overlap, but you just really have to know your spouse, and you also have to know your spouse can typically know themselves. I can be really, while not as intense or differently intense intense in a different way than you are, I can really push myself. And sometimes I can push myself to just, I'm never satisfied with what I'm doing. I know that you're the same way. And so also just that encouragement of acknowledging that there is a desire, or if you see that improvement, I'm making strides to getting to class, going to CrossFit class. Just that acknowledgement. And I appreciate it when you say that you're proud of me. And that feeds the momentum and the drive that's already within me. And so I think if anybody takes anything from this, that I think it's fairly simple to support your spouse's goals. I think you as a spouse, you need to be sensitive to, I need to be sensitive to when you're trying to encourage me. And I think each of us collectively also then need to be aware of when we need to pull back. And I appreciate that you also know when, if you're on a specific eating plan, when it comes to, say, dinner, you just eat what I put on the table, and you're always very grateful. And I try to also be mindful and have options. Say if we're having spaghetti, like I'll just let you choose if you just want to have spaghetti sauce and omit the noodles or something like that. But because I've expressed concern with, we have a 3-month-old, a 4-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 13-year-old, and they all see our actions, my actions, your actions differently. And some of them are aware if you were to weigh your food, and some of them won't be. And so definitely when it comes to goals, and the way that you talk about yourself, if you're really beating yourself up because you're not achieving your goal, the kids also pick up on that. And I appreciate that you take my cues when you need to pull back, stop talking, ease up on yourself, take a break from whatever the goal is because you're too, or the activity is because you're too, you're getting too intense. So it's definitely a personal thing, having a goal, working towards it. But there is a partnership and support that when it's fine-tuned can be really beneficial.
One of the beneficial points you can get from fine-tuning that and really having that trust with your partner is then I often will come to Carrie and I'll say, I need a reality check on this goal, regardless of what it is. It could be the plans that we have for ministry. It could be nutrition. It could be my CrossFit goals, my reading goals, because I'd love to read a book a month. And I set myself up, and I'll actually make out plans. This is how I'll accomplish this goal, and set attainable check markers. And because I have a trust that Carrie is going to be honest with me, but also supportive of me, I can come to you and say, this is where I'm at with this. Does this seem attainable with what we have going on? Did I set my sights too high? Should I maybe reevaluate that? And then she's able to say, that's me opening the door to saying, be honest. You can be as honest as you need to be, because I trust your feedback that it's supportive and it's in my best interest. And then I make changes to those goals based on that. And that's only because there's a trust there that I know that you're not looking for an open door to deflate me, or you don't have negative motives for those responses. And I think it's very important to spouses to be able to have that positive and corrective feedback so that you can adjust goals accordingly, because then each of us individually and as a unit are more successful because we're building one another up. Scripture with ironing, sharpening iron is not just, for men. It's all of us as believers. And even though we are married, we are still brothers and sisters in Christ, and we want each other to be successful. And we need to remember that even though there are things that we can do that we may not appreciate all the time, there is that undercurrent of love and positivity and thinking the best of one another. And that allows us to both be better versions of ourselves. And then we can push each other. So with your spouses, make sure that you're using positive language. I think one of the things that frustrates me the most with Carrie is that I'll tell her how beautiful she is, or how proud I am of in the workout of what she's done, or the accomplishments she's making, and she begins to kind of beat herself up, and she'll say, oh, but I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, and I just have to list everything she's doing. You're teaching 2 kids, you're a stay-at-home mom, you've got a couple part-time jobs, you're all these things you're doing, and I just have to, husbands, you have to shower your wives with how proud you are and positivity, not because it's not something you're doing because you don't believe it. Only do it if you believe it, but you have to say it so many times because I feel like you just almost refuse to accept it. And then at some point, you're starting to let it seep in. And at some point, you'll start to believe that what I'm saying is the truth, because there are still times where you don't really believe what I'm saying, even though I'm 100% honest with my positivity and my encouragement of you. I'm just going to keep saying it until you believe it, because I see it. And it's the same way. You see me in a more positive light than I see myself. And that's the way it should be in marriage. We should be seeing the positive. Are you perfect and am I perfect? No way. Do we make mistakes all the time? Do we accidentally step on each other's toes? The message on Friday about date your spouse is going to have a story about some miscommunication that we had because we're not.
Very recently.
Yeah, very recent, very, very recently. But we know under the current of everything, there is a trust, a respect, and an understanding that we like each other, we love each other, we want the best for one another, and we believe the best in each other.
Yeah, I think the encouragement, granted, I realize that there's certain areas that I can be stubborn when it comes to receiving your praise. I would say in general, your spouse's praise is the greatest praise that you can get. And a lot of times with you, I find it just really effective to just say what I'm seeing. I think it's easy just as humans, I was going to say as wives, but I think just as humans, we just get so focused on what isn't happening or what we, whatever the vision is for the future, our goals, what we see next in the next season of life, and being content with where we are right now is really difficult. And so it's difficult to offer praise because we're not really seeing it. And so sometimes it's a habit, it's a muscle that has to be built. And so I will frequently tell you, thank you for going to work. Thank you for working so hard in this area or in that area. And even though sometimes I say it for myself because I don't really understand why you have to push yourself so hard, but I know that you want to. It's innate in you. So I just need to partner with you to help you be the best version of you. And especially if I'm seeing you being discouraged, pointing out the things that are going well. And that's something that I've done for years. And I think it kind of started with our kids when we had a lot of younger kids, but just really praising them because it's so easy to correct as a default. And we need to make praise our first words.
Yeah, absolutely. Those corrections are not, most of them, just a lot of them don't need to be addressed, and we need to replace them with the encouragement of the things that
because you're aware.
Yeah.
You're aware. I don't need to tell you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And kids are just like us, just smaller versions, and that has been good for us to grow in that way. We've learned a lot about being a better husband and wife by having kids and parenting them.
Making lots of mistakes and learning from them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I had. Do you have anything else? Do we have any other thoughts or comments we need to address? I don't see any more. I'm really looking forward to Friday. It's really exciting. We're going to take the love seat. If you're newer to us, this seat is in picture on our website, and we're going to take it with us to the church when we speak on Friday. It seems, I don't know if it's gimmicky or not, but it's what we're doing right now. So we've got that, and we've made some bookmarks, some professional looking bookmarks. It's not like we took cardstock and did it on our home printer. We're trying to do things with excellence for the Lord, and so we're excited for that. We're excited to share that with you. So again, we'll put links down below if you want to contact to be a part of that. But otherwise, thank you so much for being a part of our first Facebook Live. We hope everyone could hear well, and like I said, the audio will go on our podcast as soon as I get that up. And we're going to shoot to do this next Monday.
And if you liked this and want to keep listening to us talk throughout the evening, you can go back to the website and find previous podcasts.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good. A little promotion of what we already done. I like it. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you next time. Have a great evening.
Bye, guys.